So the fifth race of the Challenger Playoff Final about to get underway. 2 points apiece in this first to five competition. New Zealand had a 2-1 lead. They had the better of racing yesterday. The Swedes have begun well here today. Good boat speed, slight wobble. More than a slight wobble.
Slight wobble.
I think that's a bit of British understatement.
Very well done.
Fact remains, it is anybody's. Very much up for grabs, this Challenger place.
I think this is when Kiwi fans are kind of white-knuckling it here in this start box. They just love to see their boat actually get first to that mark. Still, look at how long those dagger boards are. The light air boards on Emirates Team New Zealand. Like Paul Kayard reported, it's definitely, the breeze is down. We started the day at about 16 knots of wind, down to 10, a little closer to what was predicted. I think this is still on the high side of what was predicted.
So the Louis Vuitton America's Cup Challenger Playoffs Final, 2 points apiece. It's anybody's, and the cat and mouse well underway in the pre-start. Will Nathan Outridge own Peter Burling in this part of the race? Yet again, it's been 4 in a row that he's got off to the better start.
And both teams have actually cut the corner on the other. Originally, it was Emirates Team New Zealand kind of cut the corner on Artemis Racing. Artemis Racing goes right back at him. There's the starting line on the top of the screen. There's a starting line right up there. 28 seconds to go before the start. They got pretty far away. Is this actually time and distance back to the line right now? Neither of them are altering course by any means. Artemis maybe slightly thinks they're slow, but only 10 seconds to go. I think this is a clean start with Artemis clearly in the advantage right now. Can Emirates Team New Zealand make that better angle stick?
Away they go. And again, it's the Swedes who are just about in front. But rather like before, there's not a huge amount in it. And the Kiwis this time on the outside lane, so to speak.
We've seen this move before. We've seen the move before where Artemis will keep them up above the mark. See the mark in the left-hand corner way down there. They're sailing above the mark. They will try to extend away. There they go. They peel away first and try to make a little extension.
Ripping over the water at 42 knots and beyond. The Swedes keeping it tight to the mark. Downwind they go. For the fifth race running, it is Nathan Outridge who has made it to the first mark in front. Now, across the couple of weeks that we've had here in Bermuda, that has made a big difference if you take all the teams as a whole. But the Swedes have not been converting their leads in quite the same way that they would have liked.
They're now 50-50 in this series alone. I believe it's 66% of the time the Swedes have actually made that first mark lead stick onto the finish. Interesting the way the course is set up. The boundary isn't even effect on this first run. Let's go down to maybe Paul Kayard in the water. And Paul, that first reach, Artemis made the kind of the unfavored speed side work that time. Clearly, those high-speed boards are better on that first reach, aren't they?
Exactly, Ken. I mean, so far, again, it's a tale of the boards.
Wind in right face.
Just wonder how much, even at this early point, the Kiwis would be concerned about it. Whenever he's asked about it, Peter Burling doesn't seem overly perturbed by the starts because he has such faith and confidence in the boat speed subsequently and their reliability in their manoeuvring, as we're seeing here, which is almost second to none. But if they were to go through, you have been saying repeatedly, Ken, haven't you, that Jimmy Spithill will really take advantage in those starts.
Well, I've noticed he's out here ever since Japan was eliminated. Jimmy Spithill's been out doing starting practice with Dean Barker every single day. So you know that's on the top of their mind. There's no doubt about that. I've been in tough spots like Peter Burling. We've all gone through streets, Paul Kayard, myself, every other sailor in the world, where you lose a little bit of confidence in your starting ability. There's no doubt about that. And it's one thing to lose confidence. Look at this, a slight slip up on the tack. You lose confidence in your starting ability, but you constantly gain confidence in being able to dominate your opponent if they make one little mistake. And again, Artemis Racing tacked a little early off the line of Emirates Team New Zealand, and they pounce right away. That's incredible.
Would be Chris Brittle right now. 99% of his max heart rate, and every percentage is counting as they try to push the oil around the system, the hydraulic power that manipulates everything on board these platforms. Very, very tight to each other. This is where we might see a degree of tactical savvy coming into play. Ken, what are the options here for the two helmsmen?
Well, the option earlier was Artemis to actually tack on top of Team New Zealand, or extend or go to the other gate if you think you're a faster boat. But they actually tacked in a really tough spot, and sure enough, they're paying for it. Here comes a luff.
So the Kiwis protesting at the path of the Swedes.
Yeah, and that's going to be a green flag. I think the Kiwis did a luff. Artemis Racing rolled right into attack. They both did what they had to do in that situation. But the bottom line is, Artemis Racing set themselves up to get past with really just a bad tactical move. They didn't tack in the correct spot about half a leg ago. Here's the luff. Watch Burling. He's heading up. He's heading up. He has the right of way. He pushes the button before you even get close. Sorry.
That's road rage. It's boat rage.
It's called the Hollywood. He's talking to Richard Slater. Come on, Richard, help me out here. Little luffing. These guys with practice, they did exactly what they had to do there. They tacked away, but here comes this key cross. Starboard tack boat, Artemis Racing. Port tack boat, Emirates Team New Zealand. Both likely laying the gate. This is where it always gets interesting. Looks to me like Emirates Team New Zealand might get across here. If they get across, easy cross.
Pretty good stuff for us on the down one.
They are really hammering their way up to the gate.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Having come from behind, something they seem remarkably adept at doing. And again, just look, those hulls are barely moving from the height that they started the mark rounding at. Inch perfect, and we have a split course with the Swedes heading in the other direction. Who is going to find the better wind pressure?
Well, that's a good question, Paul Kayard. Which side of the race course looks a little better? We got a nice split.
Yeah, usually this side that Artemis is on has a little more pressure, a little less land to windward of it, but I think the Kiwis will come out. They might lose a little bit of lead, but they're pretty comfortable, I think. They did well, Artemis made a mistake, as you said, up that beat, and they're paying for it.
Good angle, pressure hitting at this angle.
So this was a few moments ago. Keep a close eye on these sailors here, because it's not easy crossing that platform, as you can see.
Hold on, baby.
Cling on for dear life. The last thing they need is to lose another man.
That wire it's not actually a wire, that's a carbon fiber cable that's used to actually hold the mast up, and looks like it held a human being up instead there.
100% fly time for the New Zealanders, and look just how far ahead they find themselves at this point.
You give them a sniff at the lead, and they just extend, they just dominate. And again, we keep harping on it, and I started to tell the story before for Peter Burling. Not only does he put pressure on himself in that starting line, but I'm sure he's sick of being asked about it.
Still pretty happy right there. Nice and steady. Right.
We still haven't had it answered. What happens if you go over 100%?
Yeah, I think they suddenly burst into flames. Interesting to see Peter Burling's heart rate's up at 81%, and that's the same as... Well, it's not too far shy of Blair Tuke, is it? Who's hard at work on the pedals.
Great. Happy? Yes. 2, 1.
Here's the jibe from the Kiwis, which will take them through this gate nice and clean in one.
3, 2, 1.
You give these guys any sniff, and they extend. A faster boat always extends like this, you know, and certainly those light air boards don't seem to be affecting them very much right now with regard to pace. It's about 10.5 knots of wind speed on the water right now.
We're going to go before him, guys, aren't we? Yeah. Go back up. Fly wing.
No sign of the instability really from the Swedes that we saw in that previous race. They've looked pretty solid, but having been overtaken, they're facing a real job here.
He's got below, happy to go far.
Just a slight little right-hand shift. I think this is it's a puffy day. This is as much about the pressure and where these pressure lines are coming from. They're kind of scattered all over the race course. Little rain squalls coming through still, dark clouds, a little patch of blue sky. It's a very interesting day for the weatherman, that's for sure.
One down on your flick. We'll be a boundary stack, 30 seconds. Yeah, still with us. Yeah. Facing up a click here now. Standing by here. Up he goes. Yeah. 3, 2.
Short, clipped messages from Peter Burling. Everybody just seems to be bang in tune.
It's what's called a loose cover. They didn't tack directly in front of Artemis, but certainly well up to weather. A bit of a controlling tack. And, you know, Paul Carrot out in the water, every time Team New Zealand gets ahead, they extend, whereas when they're behind, they tend to kind of maintain. Is that the sign of a slightly faster boat?
Yeah, Kenny, as you and I know, that is the sign. And I guess the slightly less wind speed in this race suits their bigger boards just that little bit better. And, you know, the first tack by Artemis out of the leeward mark was very strange, as I'm sure you noticed. I mean, they tacked in the safe behind position, which no one ever does. So they did 2 tacks to New Zealand's 1 there, and that's just coughing up another 80 meters.
So the ploy of using those bigger boards bearing fruit as the wind just dissipates a little bit through the afternoon camp.
Yeah, for sure. These guys are also rumored along the waterfront of all the teams to have maybe the most forgiving setup. So their light air boards might be a little better in a slightly wider range. Same thing with their heavy air boards. And it's also talked about that they might have tips on their dagger boards that they can actually replace and, let's say, shrink a light air board or extend a heavy air board on a given day.
Between races?
No, never. Not a chance. It's always before they leave the dock, and I believe they have to make all those choices by 9 o'clock in the morning. but they can hedge. It might give them a little chance to hedge their bets a bit, you know?
On a day like this, which is quite unpredictable, varied wind speeds as we've seen throughout the afternoon so far.
Yeah, well, you and I were out on the water this morning early, and it was blowing 23, 24 knots at times. It was
very wet as well.
Very wet.
I can testify to that.
Good sandwiches, though. Good breakfast sandwiches.
I ate a lot of food. But my socks are still wet, so if you could do something about that, that would be great. Kiwis, in the meantime, making serene progress. Pretty high up on the water, but still swinging those bows round really quick.
Average wind speed dropping down to 10.5 knots. I think we're certainly going to see the Kiwis get a little bit better as it gets lighter, as reported.
They definitely seem the most comfortable in the lighter air, don't they? Even when we were in the round-robin stage, the qualifying stages, they were the ones thriving when the wind speeds were only at 6, 7, 8 knots.
Right at the bottom of that wind range. There's no doubt that I think that's when the Kiwis strike fear in most of the rest of the fleet. They seem to have more stability in that bottom, that very, very bottom end wind range.
So one more downwind leg for the New Zealanders to navigate, and they look to have plenty of clear water between themselves and the Swedes at this point. And what about this kink?
Yeah, the big old kink in the board. That's what we've all been talking about for quite a while. It really couldn't be more different than the dead straight boards of Artemis Racing. Both are obviously accomplishing great things. But yeah, you look at the design, and it's really quite interesting and quite strange. Look at how these guys they round the mark and start going 5, 8, sometimes 10 knots faster than the boat's still going upwind, and how a small to medium-sized lead just expands so dramatically and so quickly for that boat that's ahead.
Happy lower than higher, but just work the depth and get it up. We might do it in 2. You go all the way, worth trying. On the right turn, so it's 3. Yeah. Setting up. My way. 2, 1, yeah. Right. Okay, my wheel.
600 meters now. It's a procession for the Kiwis from here. Not sure that's the word he's imagining just at this moment.
I don't think he's seen any of the race yet.
Somebody suggested that maybe they should paint some road markings on in front of him so he feels a little more at home. So what's going on here with the forearm, Ken?
So a lot of boats. Well, it could
iPhone
even be an iPhone type device. It's obviously we're looking on the forearm right here. It's a lot of boats now have wireless kind of heads-up displays that key instrumentation, and whoever, I don't even know who that was, whatever that position is, you will have key instrumentation that is critical to your job. It could be a display that says hydraulic pressure. It could be a display that says true wind direction, course to the mark, how many laps you've done. I mean, it could be anything, but it's a vital piece of information that whoever that was, they need at a moment's notice.
So one more gate to navigate, and then the blast reach to the finish for Emirates Team New Zealand, who have been displaying all their proficiency and their prowess in this race. Another masterclass, really.
Get them in front, and they are launched.
No, corridor's open. Fuck. Definitely 6F.
See, they're talking about.
He must have an issue. Be heading for home.
How many legs were still on? They were just talking about. Are you sure it's a 6F? Yep, it's 6F. That means 6 legs and then to the finish.
Always good to be discussing that as you are a couple of 100 meters from the finish line. What's going to the Swedes?
Something's wrong with the Swedes.
They're going very much in the wrong direction at this point.
You got to get a camera on the Swedes. Clearly they have a problem. I'm looking out on the race course right now, and I didn't realize they had careened off, but clearly they have an issue.
Trouble for Sweden at this point, but the Kiwis back in front in the playoff final. Their boat speed so impressive, and another really good example of their calm and their composure in chasing down opponents. So they lead by 3 points to 2, and the Swedes have officially retired from the race. I wonder if this is significant in terms of some kind of technical problem.
We'll be looking for people crawling all over the boat with regard to if we do think it's a technical issue, if they just decided, let's take a little rest, let's take some rest time.
So every team out here have had their issues. Boats breaking up, little parts malfunctioning, men overboard.
Goes down and Parko tries to take lift out, but get it out and then just comes straight back.
So what happens is, as I go, daggerboard will go down, and then start.
We can unplug it.
Hey guys, watch the comms. Everything broadcasting.
Yeah, you're right there.
They're on to us.
Everything is broadcasted, but we've got a daggerboard issue.
Clearly, whether it's a software issue or a mechanical issue or a hardware or a hydraulic issue is slightly unclear.
So plenty for the Swedes to digest and to address.